It had been 5 years since Mrs. Wicket saw before, but now she was coming back. She had escaped heaven after Scrapper had killed her, and she was finally heading down. She had been freed from her curse, and down she came. Oh, okay. When she was going down, she died in velocity, and now she was back. She was back in the wacky land of Hell High. All her friends were here. Just she walked around looking. Or could she find her royal lad? That was the real question. She looked up, looked down, looked all around. She was lost in the air. But her royal lad couldn't be found. She walked into the nightclub. And who was that in there? It was Bean. Bean. The enemy of Mrs. Wicket. The one who made her life hell. She approached the Bean. Music played loud. She walked over. She screamed, "Hello, Bean! I am back!" The Bean was scared, but he knew he wasn't going down without a fight. Everything was very scary. But she cared about one person. She asked where Scrapper was. Mr. Bean knew where she was because he took him. He's so stupid. Oh no! Mrs. Bean ate Scrapper! What? That's it. Mrs. Wicket knew to go to heaven. She walked and looked around. She had to run. Mr. Bean was after her. It was very scary and a most intense chase. There he was! But would she prevail? She had to look for the hill. There it was, look, in the distance. She saw it. She knew. She had to reach there before the Bean did. She walked. She ran. She even went down a steep and sneaky hill to avoid the Bean. She kept running and running, hoping she could get up the sneaky hill. But she couldn't. She had to dodge it and just keep running. The Bean was on her tail now. Over the hills and far away. The Bean Boy had come to play. She couldn't escape. She had to do one thing. She went to a shop and she pulled out her trusty skiggity skateboard. She got aboard and skated up, but she fell off. The board was terrible, and also the GUI was glitched. She had to escape some way or another. Bean had also got a board. His board was more powerful than Mrs. Wicket's because he had used his YouTube revenue to get the board from those Mr. Bean compilations on YouTube. She took some sharp turns, but the board was utter rubbish, so it didn't work. Mrs. Wicket knew she had to escape. She dismounted and ran. This was a race to the finish, and only she could escape. Off she went. There'd be a secret gift waiting for her at the top of the hill, which would allow her to get back to heaven and rescue Scrapper. Up she went. Faster and faster, quicker and quicker, until she started rolling down. She needed to make it. She had to overcome it. There it was, the gate to heaven. But then, her board broke. She had to walk the rest of the way. She made it. She decided to catch her breath by sitting down. So that's what she did. She sat for a moment until she noticed the bean. Oh no! She screamed in pain as Mr. Bean appeared in front of her. She knew what she had to do now. She grabbed the special gear. She said, "Adios." And off she went. Everything was going good for her. She was flying to the moon. But what she didn't realise was Bean was close on her tail, and the wind changed. The wind shook her and shook her. She kept going straight up until... "I'm going down!" she screamed. Straight down. She grabbed grasp with it. She tried to control it, but it didn't work. Everything was going wrong for Mrs. Wicked. She was about to drown. She was going close to this and getting closer, getting closer, getting closer, and down she went. That was it for her. She had died. Mrs. Wicked looked around. She was alive? Still? Where was she? She looked up. She looked down. She looked all around. She noticed a house. She walked over. "Where am I?" she said, looking around at the house. This was her old house, and it was weird. She remembered everything in this house, from the front the back door to the old jacuzzi where her and Scrappy used to take a few baths. Oh god. She walked around and reminisced, smiling upon her past. And she walked and walked. Maybe she was home. Was the whole Lad.jpeg thing a dream? But what was this ominous red light coming from the house? Surely, this couldn't have been anything bad, could it? She walked inside. What was this? She tripped. She screamed. It was Bean Hell! Everything? It looked like Mr. Bean had finally trapped her. She thought she'd made it to heaven. Oh no! It was the evil Bean Lad. "Welcome to Bean Hell," said Mr. Bean. She desperately searched for a way to escape, looking down every nook and cranny into the fire. She looked around. She even thought the Bean Lad could escape her. She tried to climb it, but failed. The Royal Lad had become a bean monster. And it was horrible. Just look at what happened to him. Mrs. Wicket had a fit. She was in pain. She couldn't stand to see the Royal Lad, who once used to be her friend, become a bean monster. But then, just when you think things could get worse, she began to grow older, and older, and older, and older, and older, and older, and older. And then Mr. Bean said, "Now die." And with that, she began to grow, and grow, and grow. Mr. Bean had pulled out the knife. She tried to run. She had already been badly damaged. She thought she could be brave and trick him by jumping over him, but she died. So, let me tell you this. You may think everything's okay. You may think you're safe. Once you're dead, you finally escaped. But you will never escape the clutches of Mr. Bean. But one day a hero came. His name was Peter. He knew about Mr. Bean's evil actions. He pulled out his sword because he also had one. He taunted Bean. He went into the first person, and an epic battle ensued. He kicked over his corpse, and he celebrated. With the spirit of Mrs. Wicket being lifted, and the evil Bean monster being free. Hold up. Thank you, I am free, said the evil Bean lad, as it floated up into heaven. Danced, and then gained the godlike ability to fly. He got out of that house and he flew away, and off he went towards the sun. As far as something wasn't right, he waited and waited. The spirit of Lad had been freed, but there he was. It was Lad. He was in the corner where the Bean monster used to be. He knew he couldn't forget his loyal lad. So he came back down. Attached him to a rope. He said the famous quote of his. She died trying to save you, he said, holding back his tears. He began to cry. Wah, 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 he said. Everything was very emotional. Things began to get a bit trippy. As the lad. He's the last lad. He was the last lad all along. Oh, I'll get the gist. Things were getting a bit topsy-turvy. He asked the question, will you be a lad? Peter thought for a moment, but knew he would become a lad. Cracking, the lad said, his famous catchphrase. It was finally over. The torment of Bean. They could finally escape. This was it. This was the magnum opus of the Lad and Beta, now known as the second lad on Earth. These two lads would face a lot to come in the present time, but they got out of there. They flew, and they flew, and they flew. Wee, all the way home.